Good morning, good morning. It is early morning on June 2nd, Tuesday. This is Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. For those of you who are up in the witching hour, yes, the queen is up, and bringing you back-to-back videos pertaining to George Floyd. And this is that information by Rolling Out News 2. Teen who videotaped George Floyd's deadly encounter with police facing backlash. Without the video of what would become George Floyd's last moments of life going viral, the 4 Minneapolis cops who were fired may still be employed today. Yet the teen who videotaped the horrific scene says she has been traumatized by social media trolls ever since. Darnella Frazier, 17, just happened to be in the area where Floyd was being arrested and put on the ground. At that moment, the teen had the presence of mind to turn on her cell phone and record the disturbing video that shows a police officer with his knee on Floyd's neck for several minutes as Floyd repeatedly says, "I can't breathe." Frazier's video sparked a multi-pronged investigation by local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies and the unprecedented firing of 4 police officers involved within 24 hours of the footage's release. Despite her heroism, Frazier and her mother told TMZ that she has secluded herself in her home since the video went viral due to vocal critics who claimed she was clout chasing and aired the video for monetary gain. After withstanding the fierce backlash, Frazier sounded off on her Facebook account after being traumatized twice by first watching what the cop did to Floyd and then by the grief she's received from critics in the hours and days since. "I'm doing it for clout, for attention. What? To get paid. Now y'all just sound dumb and ignorant," she wrote. "I don't expect anyone who wasn't placed in my position to understand why and how I feel the way that I do. Mind you, I am a minor, 17 years old. Of course I'm not about to fight off a cop. I'm scared. What the F? I don't give 2 Fs about what y'all would have did because y'all there? No." Flip the page to see the rest of the Facebook message. I'm reading what they're saying, excuse me. But anyway, that is the first said information. So this young lady has been receiving backlash from some people pertaining to her not intervening in the altercation that led to Mr. Floyd's death. Here is part 2 of the said information. The rest of Frazier's Facebook post is as follows. "Fighting would have got someone else killed or in the same position George, may he rest in peace, was in. If it wasn't for me, 4 cops would have still had their jobs, causing other problems. My video went worldwide for everyone to see and know. His family was reached out to. The police most definitely would have swept it under the rug with the cover-up story. Instead of bashing me, thank me, because that could have been one of your loved ones and you would want to see the truth as well. Anyone with something negative to say, please block me. I'm not forcing you to watch me." Frazier's mother, who did not give her name, told TMZ that her daughter was meant to be at that place at that time, despite already suffering from social anxiety. Despite some critics, Frazier has the support of many people who recognize the monumental importance of her split-second decision, as expressed in the post below. And in the said article, you will see a video of the young lady visiting the scene the next day after Mr. Floyd was murdered by Derek Chauvin, Minneapolis cop, and she is crying and going on and on about what happened and basically just how she feels that she can't believe that this man is dead and that she watched him die. Okay. Okay, that's the said information because there's a post under here where a woman had posted, his face was being pressed so hard against the ground, his nose was bleeding. Darnella Frazier, lady who filmed the incident. This happened outside a Cup Foods grocery store in Minneapolis, Minnesota. The man later died. Then it has an emoji with the strip over the mouth with profanities. This is sad that she is getting backlash because I hadn't heard of anything negative until I went into the app tonight to get said notifications about Mr. Floyd and the said information pertaining to him and Mr. Chauvin, and I hadn't heard anything because I haven't been on social media any today. It was earlier, looking at notifications of storylines, but I think it's sad and disturbing that anyone would have anything negative to say about a child. She's a child. She's a child and she's a female. So anyone thinking that she should intervene in an arrest is crazy. Naturally, if that was her mother, her father, her brother, or sister, perhaps she would have tried to jump on a cop's back or leg or arm. And as she said, I would have gotten probably what Mr. Floyd got. And I think anybody with sense knows. Any one of us would have gotten that. Any one of us that's grown, sane, big, tall, fat, short, doesn't matter. No civilian walking into that situation could not think that there would be a chance that you'd also be lying on the ground, scuffed up, face cut up, beat up, teeth knocked out. Because the Oriental, he sure gets down like that. Because he, for those who don't know, had a case out of 2014 where he knocked a gentleman's teeth out of his mouth, beat him severely, and the city of Minneapolis settled with that said gentleman. And I thought it said 25,000. I'm not sure if that's the correct amount, but the point still remains. The city of Minneapolis settled with that young man for that 2 tail, that Oriental one that's blocking the viewer. He don't want anyone to see, the young girls filming that murder. He already had a case that's been settled by the city of Minneapolis for knocking out a young man's teeth, and currently has an open case as I talk to you right now. And by the grace of God, she filmed it. It went viral. And I swear, I think in my whole being, that is why they all were fired and Mr. Chauvin was charged with third-degree murder. Because as she said, had I not filmed, they would have swept that man's death under the rug and cried and moaned about everything else that was wrong with him, and that being the cause of his death. And yes, there are other articles underneath these articles that I've read to you stating that there are 2 different reports of his autopsy. The knee wasn't the cause of his death. Well, I beg to differ. Mr. Floyd walked into a store 2 times. Fine. Exited the store 2 times. Sat behind the wheel of a car and then approached by police. He was fine. You see where I'm going with that? So I don't care if he had a beer to drink, 5 beers to drink, took a prescription drug, narcotics, whatever they want to add on and bring on. That means nothing to me. The point is, interrogating a suspect for a crime should not lead to a cop putting their knee into the neck of a human being, down to the ground, face, neck pressed to the ground, with no way to breathe, airway being cut off, and slowly watch their own self die. And I can't even imagine what he went through. Because as I've told some of you, when I was doing research for a certain case on this channel, please Google asphyxiation and drowning. It is not a nice read. 4 minutes doesn't seem long to many of us doing anything. Now imagine 4 minutes of your airway being cut off, drowning in water, suffocated by a pillow, a bag, being choked. It's all the same. It is a horrible death. And experts say that drowning is worse. As I stated to you in a previous video this weekend, I don't know because I haven't been suffocated, drowned, come back to life to tell what it was like and which one would be worse. But my point is, anybody with sense knows those are horrible ways to go to have your airway cut off, be it by your nose, your mouth, your throat, compressed on your chest. It is all the same. It is horrific because you are not getting any oxygen. Your lungs are not being able to breathe. And that's just common sense. And no one should have anything nasty to say about this young lady clout chasing and trying to get money for a video and fame and this and that. Of course her name is going to be in the media. She uploaded it to social media. It went viral. Her name's attached to the account. That's life. But mocking her and making fun of her, saying derogatory things about her, and God forbid if any of you are trying to threaten that young lady or say anything, you are despicable because she is a child. And you know damn well she could not have stopped those grown men from harming Mr. Floyd. And you know they would have done the same to her, probably broke her arm or broke her damn neck intervening. And shame on you for saying anything negative about her, that she is clout chasing, doing this for fame, and should have intervened. Well, maybe your ass should have intervened because she was not the only person standing there watching the police knee Mr. Floyd in the neck. You know damn well there were other spectators, there were other cops there, and nobody else jumped in. And the rightful person to stop would have been Mr. Chauvin. The second persons should have been the other officers who stood idly by. So leave that little girl out of this. Leave her out of this. This is what I dread about crimes like this. People are always looking for a scapegoat, looking for someone to blame. People will blame the victim. What were they doing, not doing, shouldn't have been doing, if they were under the influence of something. Never giving any type of acknowledgement to the person who murdered them. Then we got a nasty president making nasty remarks about governors being weak and fools for not implementing more structure with these riots and looting, as if they can control these people. Shameful. And another thing I'd like to say before I check out of here is this. The National Guard being called in, okay, cool. But why not call them in to fight the violence that has plagued the American streets for so many years, from New York to Chicago to LA? Chicago has the worst crime in years. And you all wait good until a cop murders somebody and people lash out and start vandalizing and protesting and looting to decide you want the National Guard to be called in. Mr. Trump is who I'm talking about. You should have took that same initiative to call the National Guard to fight the crime that plagues many American streets. Implement a curfew for those who like to hang out in the street and shoot and kill people. Hang in front of stores and gas stations and front porches, looting and loitering and keeping up people and running amok and hanging on street corners and taking over street corners and neighborhoods. Why didn't you get the National Guard for that? Yeah, I'm saying it because it's a little too late. I always want to go get the army, military, when you can't control civilians acting out. But yet, you complain viciously about state and local officials not curbing crime and doing the right thing to curb crime. And oh, those Democrats are the problems with the crime. No, people are their own worst enemy. People do what they want and will behave how they want. And they will do, think how they want. And if anybody knows by now, you just don't have control over people. So you have to come up with a better solution to curb the problem with violence. And I have always said they should have had the militia in the city streets to curb all the street violence until people realize you are not going to hold people hostage in their homes, hold people hostage to where they can't live, enjoy themselves, go places, sit outside on their front porch, lawn, front stoop, wherever they live, in peace. The National Guard could have been on the streets many moons ago to curb the enormous violence that has plagued American cities in Detroit, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, other California cities, other major cities. And it still isn't too late. But don't use George Floyd's death as an excuse to call the National Guard because people are looting past dark 30. People will do what they want to do. And that's just a spoken word. We don't have control over people. And sending people to jail and to prison has never worked. I think most people know that by now. So saying give them lots of time, 10 years, oh, that'll stop the problem. When did that ever stop people from committing crime? Because once again, people will do what they want to do. Thank you for joining me the past hour or so, listening to the said information pertaining to Mr. George Floyd, information pertaining to his killer, Mr. Chauvin, and I will continue to bring you said information pertaining to this case as it unfolds. This, as I stated, is a tragic time right now in our country with sickness and death with COVID-19, and now the death of George Floyd and the outcry of the American people and the African American people. And I'm praying for this young lady who filmed this video. We've done enough in this country, harming people, bullying people, harassing people, strangling, choking, shooting. Leave the kids alone. She did the right thing. And as her mother said, it was meant for you to be there that day. And I concur. Amen. God bless her. God bless the Floyd family. God bless America. You all stay safe out there. Hope you have a prosperous week. And I will be praying for our American people, our African American people, the struggle we have to live and survive. God hold us and keep us, because you know all. And I'm praying for my people because we have come a mighty long way. And it is by the grace of God that we are still here and sustaining. Amen. Everyday Shenanigans. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.